Nobody tells you that the dead can knock. Chike stood in his doorway at 3 minutes past midnight, staring at his own face. Not a similar face. Not a close resemblance. His exact face down to the small scar above the left eyebrow from a childhood fall, the slightly crooked front tooth, the distinctive way his hairline receded at the temples, even though he was only 32. The man on his doorstep was bleeding from a gash on his arm, breathing hard like he'd been running. His clothes were torn, covered in red mud that definitely wasn't from Lagos, and his eyes held the kind of terror that makes brave men lock their doors and pray. "Brother," the stranger said, his voice shaking. "Brother, please. They're coming for both of us now. We don't have much time." Cheek's hand tightened on the doorframe. His mind scrambled for rational explanations, some elaborate prank, a delusional man who happened to look like him, a nightmare he hadn't woken from yet. Because the alternative, the impossible explanation his brain kept offering, couldn't be real. "I don't have a brother," Chike said slowly, carefully, the way you speak to dangerous animals or crazy people. "I was a twin, but he died, minutes after birth. My mother told me. The doctors told me. He's dead. He's been dead for 32 years. The stranger's laugh was broken, desperate. "That's what they told you. That's what they tell all of us. But brother, I'm standing right here. I'm real. And if we don't get inside, if we don't hide, the third one is going to find us. And when he does, we'll wish we died at birth like they said." The third one. Cheek's blood turned to ice water. "What are you talking about? What third? Please." The stranger grabbed Cheek's arm and the contact was electric, wrong, like touching a live wire or a ghost made flesh. "Please, brother, I've been looking for you for 3 years. Ever since I found out the truth. Ever since I learned what we really are. What was done to us." Behind Cheek, a voice cut through the insanity. "Chike, who is that? What's happening?" His wife, Amara, stood in the hallway, 7 months pregnant, her hand protectively over her swollen belly. The baby kicked visibly beneath her palm, as if sensing the wrongness in the air. She looked at the stranger, looked at Chike. Her face went pale. "Oh God," she whispered. "Oh God, Chike, why does he look exactly like you?" Before anyone could answer, before Chike could process what was happening, a scream tore through the house from upstairs. His mother's scream, raw, terrified. The kind of sound that comes from seeing your worst nightmare made real. The stranger's eyes went wide. "She knows. Your mother knows what I am, what we are." He pushed past Chike into the house, moving with urgent purpose. "Where is she? We need to talk to her before—" "Get out of my house." Chike grabbed him, spun him around. "I don't know what kind of sick game this is, but it's not a game." The stranger's voice cracked. "My name is Emeka. Emeka Okonkwo. Same last name as you because we share the same parents. Same birthday, June 15th, 1992, St. Nicholas Hospital in Lagos. Same blood type, O positive. Same everything because we came from the same womb at the same time. You want proof? Fine." He reached into his torn jacket and pulled out a photograph. Old, faded, torn precisely in half. It showed a woman, younger, healthier, but unmistakably Chike's mother, holding 2 babies. The photo was ripped right down the middle, separating the twins. Cheek's hands shook as he took it. He'd seen the other half of this photo. His mother kept it in a locked box in her room, and she'd shown it to him exactly once when he was 12 and asked about his dead twin. She'd cried for hours after, and he'd never asked again. "How did you get this?" Cheek's voice was barely a whisper. "The woman who raised me gave it to me when she was dying, along with a letter explaining that she wasn't my real mother, that I was stolen, that my real mother was told I was dead, and I was told she'd abandoned me, that for 32 years we've both been living a lie." Another scream from upstairs, this time followed by crashing sounds like furniture being overturned. Amara grabbed Chike's arm. "Your mother! Something's wrong." They ran upstairs together, all three of them, Chike's rational mind finally surrendering to the impossible reality that his dead twin brother was alive, in his house, and something terrible was happening. His mother's room was in chaos. The window was open, curtains billowing in the night wind. Furniture was scattered like a tornado had hit. And his mother, 70-year-old Neoma Okonkwo, who'd survived widowhood, poverty, and grief, stood in the corner holding a kitchen knife with both hands, pointing it at Emeka, with pure terror in her eyes. "You're dead," she was saying over and over like a prayer or a curse. "You're dead. I saw them take you. I saw them carry you away. You can't be here. You can't be real." "Mama, put down the knife," Chike said carefully, moving between her and Emeka. "Just put it down and we'll talk about this." "You don't understand." His mother's voice was raw. "If he's here, if he's alive, then everything I did, everything I sacrificed, it was all for nothing. And the third one will come. The prophecy will be complete. You'll all die." The words hung in the air, like smoke. "What prophecy?" Chike asked. "Mama, what are you talking about? What's the third one?" His mother's eyes met his, and in them he saw 32 years of secrets, guilt, and terror finally breaking free. "You weren't twins," she whispered. "You were triplets." The world stopped spinning. Listen, if your brain just exploded, you're not alone. Mine did too when I first heard this story. Before we go any deeper into this absolute nightmare, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously. This story is going places you cannot predict, and you need to be here for every upload. Drop a comment telling me if you believe in reincarnation, in spiritual things, in any of this. And smash that like button. Now let's get back to the story because it gets so much worse. Triplets. The word echoed in Chike's head like a death sentence. Not twins, triplets, 3 babies, 3 brothers. But he'd lived 32 years believing there was only him and 1 dead twin. "Where's the third one?" Emeka's voice cut through the shock. "Where's our other brother?" His mother's knife hand trembled. "I don't know. I gave him away when you were all 3 days old. I never saw him again. Never wanted to see him again." "Gave him away to who?" Chike's voice was rising now, anger cutting through confusion. "Mama, what did you do?" She collapsed into a chair, the knife clattering to the floor, and for the first time in his life, Chike saw his mother, strong, unshakable Neoma, break completely. "You were born during a blood moon," she began, her voice distant, hollow. "June 15th, 1992. I laboured for 18 hours. And when the babies finally came, the midwife screamed. Not from joy, from fear." She looked at her hands like they belonged to someone else. 3 boys, perfect, healthy, identical, but the third one, the last one born, he came out wrong. Not physically. Physically he was beautiful, but he was born with a caul over his face, and on his left shoulder a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon. Dark. Perfect. Like it had been painted there. Amara's hand went to her throat. "The mark of Ogbanje," she whispered. Chike looked at his wife. "What's Ogbanje?" "Spirit child," Emeka said quietly, and when Chike turned to him, he saw knowledge in his twins' eyes. Dark knowledge. The Igbo believe some children aren't fully human, that they're spirits who come to the human world to torment their parents. They die young and are reborn again and again to the same mother, creating a cycle of grief. His mother nodded miserably. "The elders came when they heard about the birthmark. They examined all 3 of you. They said one of you was Ogbanje. Said all 3 of you were cursed because you shared the same birth, the same blood. They said if we kept all 3, you'd all die before your first birthday. The spirits would claim you. So you gave one away." Chike's voice was flat, numb. "The elders said we had to choose. Keep 2, give 1 to the priestess who could manage the spiritual complications. They said it was the only way to save any of you." And you chose me and Chike to keep, Emeka said. But then why did you tell Chike I was dead? His mother's face crumpled. Because I was supposed to give you to the priestess. You were the one born with the mark. You were the Ogbanje. But when I held you, when I looked at your perfect little face, I couldn't do it. I couldn't hand my baby over to be raised by a stranger for some superstitious ritual. She looked at Emeka with eyes full of pain. So I lied. I switched you. The third baby, the one born first, actually, the one with no marks, completely normal, I gave him away instead. And I told the priestess he was the marked one, that he was the Ogbanje. And she took him. You gave away the normal baby and kept the cursed one. Chike couldn't believe what he was hearing. I kept the baby I couldn't bear to lose, his mother shouted. I kept both the babies I couldn't bear to lose, and I told myself the third one would be fine, that the priestess would raise him well, that maybe it was even better for him to grow up, away from all this superstition and fear. But you told me my twin was dead, Chike said. Why lie to me? Because 6 months after you were born, men came to the house. The priestess's people. They said they knew I'd switched the babies, that the child I'd given them had no spiritual marks, no power, that he was useless to them. They demanded I hand over the real marked child, or they'd take all of you. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. Your father refused. He fought them, and they killed him, right in our compound. Made me watch. Then they took Emeka, ripped him from my arms, and disappeared into the night. Emeka's hand went to his chest, like he could feel the phantom pain of being torn from his mother. They told me both babies were dead, his mother continued. Told me that was the price for my deception, that they'd killed both the marked child and the normal one. Left me with just you, Chike, said if I ever spoke about what happened, they'd come back for you too. But I wasn't dead, Emeka said. Obviously. So what happened? The woman who raised me, the one I thought was my mother, she was the priestess's sister, Emeka explained, his voice shaking. She told me before she died that she'd stolen me, that the priestess wanted to use me in some ritual, some dark thing, and she couldn't stomach it, so she ran. Took me to Enugu, raised me as her own, never told anyone where we'd come from. And the third brother? Amara asked. The one your mother actually gave to the priestess, where is he? The room went cold, silent, like even the air was afraid to move. He's been with the priestess this whole time, a new voice said from the doorway. They all spun around. A third man stood there, same face, same height, same everything. But his eyes were different, older, darker, wrong, and on his left shoulder, visible through his torn shirt, was a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon. Hello, brothers, he said, and his smile was the most terrifying thing Chike had ever seen. I've been looking for you for a very long time. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The third brother stood in the doorway like a ghost made flesh, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Chike's mind refused to process what he was seeing. 3 of them. 3 identical faces. 3 men who'd shared the same womb, the same first breath, the same DNA. But while he and Emeka looked like normal men, tired, scared, confused, this third brother looked like something wearing human skin. My name is Obiefuna, the third brother said, stepping into the room with movements that were too smooth, too fluid. Though the priestess called me Obi, she raised me well, taught me everything, fed me knowledge and power, while you two lived your soft, ignorant lives. His mother made a sound like a wounded animal. What did they do to you? What did that woman do to my baby? Obiefuna's laugh was cruel. Your baby? You gave me away, old woman. Handed me to a stranger when I was 3 days old because you were too weak, too scared to keep all your children. You chose them over me. Choose wrong. The priestess lied to you, Emeka said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Our mother didn't know. She thought she was protecting us. She thought she could cheat fate. Obifuna's eyes gleamed with something inhuman. She thought she could break a spiritual covenant with lies and substitution. But fate doesn't care about a mother's feelings. Fate doesn't negotiate. He walked further into the room, and Chike noticed details that made his skin crawl. His brother's shadow fell wrong, darker than it should be, moving slightly out of sync with his body. And his eyes, when the light hit them a certain way, they reflected red like an animal's. "What do you want?" Chike asked, his voice barely steady. "Why come here? Why now?" "Because the prophecy is almost complete," Obiefuna said simply. "The priestess spent 32 years teaching me, preparing me, explaining what we are, what we were born to become." "We're not anything special," Chike said desperately. "We're just 3 brothers who were separated. There's no prophecy, no destiny. Just a family torn apart by superstition and fear." Obiefuna smiled. "Is that what you tell yourself? Is that how you explain the things that have happened in your life? The accidents? The deaths? The way nothing ever quite works out the way it should?" Cheek's blood froze. "Your father died when you were 6 months old," Obiefuna continued, circling the room like a predator. "Sudden heart attack, they said. Completely healthy man, just dropped dead. Strange, no?" "That was the priestess's people," his mother whispered. "They killed him for refusing to hand over—" "Your first wife," Obiefuna interrupted, looking at Chike. "Ngozi, beautiful woman. You married her when you were 24. She died in childbirth 2 years later. The baby died too, stillborn. The doctors couldn't explain why. A perfectly healthy pregnancy, then suddenly both died." Chike's hands balled into fists. Ngozi. God, he hadn't let himself think about her in years. The grief had nearly destroyed him. "And you?" Obiefuna turned to Emeka. "The woman who raised you? My aunt, apparently. She got sick 5 years ago. Cancer, they said. Aggressive, untreatable, dead within months. And before that, every serious relationship you tried to have fell apart. Every job that seemed promising collapsed. Every bit of happiness you reached for slipped through your fingers." Emeka's face had gone pale. "That was you. You killed them? You ruined our lives?" "I cleared obstacles," Obiefuna corrected. "The prophecy requires all 3 brothers to come together willingly, without attachments, without distractions. Wives, children, parent figures, they all had to go. They were keeping you anchored to this world. I needed you for free, untethered." "For what?" Amara's voice cut through the horror. She'd been silent until now, but maternal fury overrode her fear. "What prophecy? What do you want with them?" Obiefuna's eyes fixed on her pregnant belly, and his smile widened. The priestess explained it all. "We weren't born as triplets by accident. We were born as 3 parts of one soul, divided at birth because one body couldn't contain the power we were meant to have. The Ogbanje mark, the one I was born with, wasn't a curse. It was a sign, a promise." He pulled down his shirt, revealing the crescent moon birthmark on his shoulder. But it wasn't just a birthmark anymore. It had been carved into, ritualized, turned into something that pulsed with its own dark light. "When 3 souls sharing one origin reunite," he continued, "when they come together at the place of their birth during a blood moon, one of them can absorb the others, consume their life force, their potential, their power, become what we were meant to be if we'd been born as one, become something more than human." "You're insane," Chike said. "I'm enlightened," Obiefuna corrected. "And in 3 days, there will be another blood moon, June 18th, 3 days after our 32nd birthday, the same cosmic alignment that marked our birth. The priestess has been waiting for this for decades. Everything has been leading to this moment." "We won't help you," Emeka said firmly. We won't be part of whatever sick ritual you're planning. You don't have a choice. Obifuna's voice went cold. The prophecy doesn't require your permission. It requires your presence. And I've spent 32 years making sure that when the time came, you'd both be exactly where I needed you to be. He looked at Chike. Why do you think you felt compelled to buy this house? This specific house in this specific neighborhood? Because it's built on the exact spot where St. Nicholas Hospital used to stand before it was demolished. This is where we were born. This is where the ritual will happen. Chike's stomach dropped. He'd always felt strange about this house. I had nightmares sometimes about the walls breathing, about voices calling from the foundation. He'd dismissed it as stress, as the normal anxieties of home ownership. And why do you think I found you now? Obiefuna turned to Emeka. The priestess sent me to find you 3 years ago. I've been watching both of you, learning your patterns, manipulating circumstances. I arranged for your adoptive mother to die so you'd search for your real family. I made sure you'd discover the truth, make sure you'd come looking for your brother, made sure you'd arrive exactly 3 days before the blood moon. This is insane, Amara said, but her voice shook. This is destiny. Obifuna's eyes gleamed. And in 3 days, one of us will ascend. One of us will become the perfect being we were meant to be. The others will simply cease. Which one? Chike asked. Which one of us is supposed to win this sick game? Obiefuna's smile was terrifying. The one willing to do what's necessary. The one who understands that power requires sacrifice. The one who's already killed for it. He paused. Me. Okay, we need to pause here because this is absolutely insane. A spiritual prophecy. 3 identical brothers. One who's been murdering people for 30 years. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Click that button right now. Drop a like. And comment below. Do you believe this kind of spiritual thing is real? Or is Obiefuna just a psychopath using superstition as an excuse? Let's continue because the next part reveals something even worse. The silence after Obiefuna's declaration was broken by the most unexpected sound. Laughter. Harsh, bitter, coming from Chike's mother. You stupid boy, she said, looking at Obiefuna with something like pity. You think the priestess told you everything. You think she raised you for 32 years out of love or duty. You're not her chosen one. You're her sacrifice. Obiefuna's confident smile faltered. What? The prophecy is real, his mother continued, her voice gaining strength. But the priestess lied about your role in it. You were never meant to ascend. You were meant to be consumed. She turned to Chike and Emeka. The mark on his shoulder. It's not a blessing. It's a tracker. A spiritual anchor. The priestess marked him so she could find him anywhere, control him anywhere. She raised him with all that power, all that knowledge. Not to make him strong, but to make him the perfect vessel. The perfect sacrifice. Obiefuna's face went pale. No, she wouldn't. She raised me, trained me, loved me. She raised you like farmers raise cattle, his mother said cruelly. Fed you, cared for you, made you strong and healthy. Also, when the time came to slaughter you, you'd be worth the price. You're lying. Am I? Then why isn't she here? Why did she send you alone to gather your brothers? If you were really her chosen one, her champion, wouldn't she be here to witness your triumph? Obiefuna's confidence was cracking, uncertainty bleeding through. She's preparing the ritual. She's waiting at the sacred place. She trusts me to bring them. Or she's making sure she has plausible distance when you fail, his mother countered, when the real prophecy completes. Because here's what she didn't tell you. The brother who ascends isn't the one with the mark. It's the one without it, the pure one, the one whose soul was never tainted by her rituals and manipulations. She looked at Chike and Emeka. You two. You're the ones the prophecy favors. One of you will ascend. Obiefuna was only ever meant to be the battery, the power source. his 32 years of ritualized life, all that accumulated spiritual energy. It was being stored in him like a jar stores water. So when the moment came when all three of you were together, one of you could drink deep. Obiefuna stumbled backward, his hand going to his marked shoulder. No, that's not. She said I was special. She said I was chosen. You are special, his mother said, specially prepared. Marinated in power for 3 decades so you'd be delicious when the harvest came. Chike watched his brother, his third brother, the one he'd never known existed, crumble in real time. All that confidence, all that cruel certainty falling away to reveal a man who'd been lied to his entire life. A man who thought he was a predator discovering he was always meant to be prey. If that's true, Emeka said slowly, if the prophecy really requires us to consume Obiefuna's power, then we just don't participate. We refuse the ritual. All three of us walk away. The prophecy fails. It's not that simple, his mother said. The blood moon is in 3 days. When it rises, the ritual will activate whether you want it to or not. The 3 of you being in proximity, in the place of your birth during the cosmic alignment. It's enough. The prophecy doesn't need your cooperation. It just needs your presence. Then we separate, Chike said. I'll leave Lagos. Go somewhere far enough away that the prophecy can't reach. Tried that already, Obiefuna said bitterly, his voice hollow. For the last 3 months, I've felt pulled toward this place, like a fish on a hook, like something was reeling me in. I fought it. God, I fought it. Went to Abuja, to Kano. I even tried to leave the country, but I always ended up back here. The mark. He touched his shoulder. It pulls me. Control me. And I felt the same, Emeka admitted. After my mother died, I felt this compulsion to find my birth family, to come to Lagos, to search for my brother. I thought it was just grief, just a need for connection. But maybe it was the prophecy. Maybe I was being pulled here too. Chike thought about his own life, the strange compulsion to buy this specific house, the nightmares, the feeling that something was waiting for him, something inevitable. He dismissed it all as stress, as psychological issues, but maybe it was never about his mind. Maybe it was about fate. So we're trapped, he said, all 3 of us, pulled together like magnets whether we want it or not. There might be a way to break it, his mother said quietly, but it requires trust and sacrifice, and one of you accepts the truth you won't want to hear. What truth? All 3 brothers asked simultaneously, their voices overlapping in eerie unison. His mother looked at each of them in turn. The prophecy says 1 brother will ascend, 1 will be consumed, but I never told you about the 3rd option. The one the priestess definitely didn't share. What 3rd option? 1 brother can choose to die willingly, to sacrifice himself completely, holding all the power inside so it dies with him. If he does this before the blood moon rises, the prophecy collapses. The other 2 survive. Normal. Humans. Free. The words hung in the air like an executioner's axe. You're saying one of us has to commit suicide to save the other 2? Emeka's voice was flat with horror. I'm saying one of you has to choose death over power. Has to choose his brother's freedom over his own survival. Has to make the sacrifice I wasn't strong enough to make 32 years ago when I could have kept all 3 of you together. Obiefuna laughed, but it was broken. And why would any of us do that? Why would I, the one who's been marked, manipulated, used, give up my life for brothers I don't even know? Brothers who got to live normal lives while I was being groomed as a sacrifice? Because you're angry at the wrong people, his mother said gently. You're angry at us. At me for giving you away. At your brothers for being the ones I kept. But we're all victims here. The priestess, the elders, the whole system that convinced parents to give up their children. They're the enemy, not your family. Easy to say when you're not the one being asked to die. I know. His mother's voice cracked. I know it's not fair. None of this is fair. But I'm asking anyway. I'm begging. One of you, please. Please break this cycle. Don't let the priestess win. Don't let the prophecy claim all 3 of my sons. Chike looked at his brothers, at Emeka, who he'd just met but felt connected to in ways that transcended time, at Obiefuna, who'd been twisted into something dark but had started as an innocent baby, as much a victim as anyone. And he thought about Amara, about the baby growing inside her, about the family he was trying to build. I can't, he said honestly. I can't sacrifice myself. I have a wife. A child is coming. I'm sorry, but I can't be the one. Emeka nodded slowly. I understand. And I can't either. I just found my family. I just discovered I'm not alone in the world. I can't give that up. Not now. They both looked at Obiefuna. He stared back with eyes that had seen too much, done too much, lost too much. You want me to be the sacrifice, he said. Again, still. Even now you want me to be the one who dies so you 2 can live. It's not like that, Chike started. But Obiefuna cut him off. It's exactly like that. And you know what? Maybe it's poetic. Maybe it's right. The marked one. The cursed one. The one nobody wanted. Of course I'm the one who has to die. He walked to the window, looked out at the Lagos night. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Younger. Sadder. I used to dream about having a family, he said quietly. When I was little, before the priestess fully twisted me, I'd dream about parents who loved me, brothers to play with, a normal life. But she beat those dreams out of me, told me I was special, superior, destined for greatness. And I believed her because what else did I have? He turned back to face them. If I do this, if I choose to die, can I have one thing first? Just one? Before the end? What? Chike asked. Teach me what it means to be a brother. For 3 days, before the blood moon. Show me what I missed, what I could have been. Let me know, just once, what it feels like to be part of a family. The request was so simple, so heartbreaking, that Chike felt tears burning his eyes. Yes, he said. Yes, brother, we can do that. 3 days. That's all they had. 72 hours to build a lifetime of brotherhood that had been stolen from them. They spent the first day just talking, sharing stories. Chike told them about his life, growing up feeling incomplete, like a part of him was missing. His failed first marriage, his career as an architect, meeting Amara, the joy and terror of impending fatherhood. Emeka shared his childhood in Enugu, the woman who raised him with love despite knowing she'd stolen him. His years of feeling different, disconnected. The desperate search for identity after her death. The relief and confusion of discovering he had a twin. And Obiefuna told them about the priestess, the rituals, the isolation, being raised as a weapon, a tool, a battery for power he never got to use. He spoke about the murders he'd committed with a hollow voice. Neither proud nor apologetic, just stating facts about a life he'd been programmed to live. I killed your first wife, he said to Chike on the second day. They were sitting on the porch, drinking beer, trying to act like normal brothers despite everything. Ngozi, I made her bleed out during childbirth, used a ritual. I watched her die from a distance. Chike's hand tightened on his beer bottle. Every instinct screamed at him to attack, to rage, to make Obiefuna pay. But looking at his brother's face, so much like his own, he saw the truth. Obiefuna wasn't boasting. He was confessing, seeking something like forgiveness before the end. Why? Chike asked simply. Because the priestess said you couldn't ascend while anchored by love. That attachment weakened the soul. That I needed to free you. Obiefuna laughed bitterly. Free you by destroying you. I see that now. But at the time, I believed her. I believed everything she told me. Do you regret it? Obiefuna was quiet for a long time. I don't know if I'm capable of real regret. She trained that out of me, taught me that guilt was weakness. But I feel something, looking at you now. knowing you as a person instead of a target. I feel something that might be remorse, or might just be the first crack in my programming. On the third day, Amara went into labour. It wasn't supposed to happen yet. She was only 7 months along. But stress, fear, the supernatural pressure building in the house, as the blood moon approached, something triggered it. Chike rushed her to the hospital, leaving Emeka and Obiefuna at the house. As he sat in the waiting room, hands shaking, praying his wife and child would survive, he realized the prophecy was adapting, finding new ways to complete itself. If Amara died in childbirth like Ngozi had, if the baby died, if he lost everything again, would he care any more about surviving? Would the prophecy's pull become irresistible? But Amara was stronger than the prophecy. After 8 hours of labour, after complications that made the doctors nervous, she delivered a healthy baby boy. Premature but breathing, small but perfect. Chike held his son for the first time as the sun was setting on June 18th, as the blood moon was beginning to rise, and he felt something shift in the universe, like a door opening, like fate leaning in close. His phone rang. Emeka. Brother, you need to come home now, it's starting. Chike arrived to find the house transformed. The air was thick, heavy, vibrating with energy that made his teeth ache. Obiefuna stood in the centre of the living room, the mark on his shoulder glowing red like a brand. His eyes were distant, unfocused. He's fighting it, Emeka said. The pull, the ritual. But I don't think he can hold out much longer. Where's Mama? She's upstairs, praying. She said she can't watch this. Can't see another son die. Obiefuna's eyes suddenly focused, locked on Chike. Your baby. Did it survive? Yes, a boy. He's perfect. Something like a smile crossed Obiefuna's face. Good, that's good. At least something pure came from all this darkness. He swayed on his feet, the glow from his shoulder intensifying. It's pulling harder now. The moon is rising. I can feel it trying to drag me somewhere. To the priestess, she's calling me. Fight it, Chike said. You don't have to go to her. I do. Obiefuna's voice was strained. The mark is hers. She controls it, controls me. I can resist for a while, but eventually... He stumbled, caught himself. Eventually I'll go to her whether I want to or not. And when I do, when she has all three of us together, the ritual completes. One ascends, one is consumed. And based on what Mama said, I'm the one who gets consumed. Then we run, Emeka said desperately. All three of us. Right now. Get in the car and drive. Get as far from Lagos as we can before the moon fully rises. Won't work, Obiefuna shook his head. I already feel it. The pull isn't geographic, it's spiritual. I could be in China and I'd still feel her dragging me back. The mark is a leash. And she's reeling me in. The room fell silent except for the sound of their breathing and the distant sounds of Lagos nightlife. People going about their normal lives while three brothers faced an impossible choice. There's another way, Obiefuna said quietly. The way Mama suggested. I die now, before the priestess can complete the ritual, before the blood moon reaches its peak. I die willingly, and the prophecy collapses. No, Chike said immediately. There has to be another option, something we haven't thought of. We've had 3 days to think. This is it. This is the only way. Obiefuna looked at both his brothers, and for the first time since they'd met him, he looked peaceful. You gave me what I asked for. 3 days of brotherhood, 3 days of knowing what family feels like. That's more than I ever had before. More than I thought I deserved. You deserve a life, Emeka said, his voice breaking. A real life, not this. Not dying for a prophecy you never chose. None of us chose any of this, but we're here anyway. And I'm the only one who can end it. Obiefuna pulled out a knife from his pocket. Not ceremonial, just a regular kitchen knife. I thought about doing it earlier. Quick, clean. But I wanted the 3 days first. I wanted to know my brothers before I left them. Please, Chike whispered. Please don't do this. Someone has to. Obiefuna's hand was steady as he placed the knife against his wrist. Better me than you. You have a wife, a son, a future. Emeka has his whole life ahead of him, a chance to build something real. But me? I'm 32 years old, and I've never had a real conversation until 3 days ago. Never had a friend, never loved anyone, never been anything but a weapon. That can change, Emeka said desperately. You can learn. We'll help you. We're your brothers. We won't abandon you. Yes, you will. Eventually. Because I'm broken in ways that can't be fixed. The priestess made sure of that. Even if the prophecy didn't exist, even if we survived tonight, I'd still be the brother who murdered Chike's wife, who killed dozens of people, who was raised to be a monster. He smiled sadly. This way, I get to be something else. I get to be the brother who saved his family. The knife pressed deeper. Blood welled up, dark against his skin. Wait, Chike said suddenly. The baby. My son. He needs a name. In Igbo tradition, the father's brothers help name the firstborn son. So, before you do this, help us name him. Obiefuna paused, the knife still pressed to his skin. You want me to name your child? I want my son to carry something for his uncle, all his uncles, you, Emeka, and me. We choose together. Tears ran down Obiefuna's face, the first tears Chike had seen from him. Chukwuemeka, he said softly. It means God has done so much, because despite everything, the prophecy, the separation, the horror, God still gave us 3 days, still let us know each other, still brought something good from all this darkness. Chukwuemeka, Emeka repeated. That's perfect. It is, Chike agreed, his own voice thick with tears. Thank you, brother. For the name. For everything. Obiefuna nodded. Then, before either of them could stop him, he drew the knife across his wrist, deep, decisive. The cut of someone who knew anatomy, who understood exactly how to make death come quickly. Blood poured out, impossibly red in the dim light. The mark on his shoulder flared bright, then began to fade like a dying ember. Tell Mama, Obiefuna said, his voice already weakening. Tell her I forgive her, for giving me away, for choosing you too. Tell her I understand why she did it. Tell her I'm glad she saved you. He collapsed. Chike and Emeka caught him, lowered him gently to the floor. And tell my nephew, Obiefuna whispered, his eyes starting to glaze. Tell Chukwuemeka that his Uncle Obi loved him before they ever met. Tell him that sometimes the greatest love is choosing to leave. Tell him. His eyes closed, his breathing stopped. And the glow from the mark on his shoulder went completely dark. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the house shuddered. The oppressive energy that had been building all evening suddenly released, like a rubber band snapping. The air cleared, the pressure vanished. In the distance, Chike could have sworn he heard a woman screaming in rage. The priestess, maybe, feeling her ritual collapse. Her decades of planning were destroyed by one man's choice to die free rather than live enslaved. They sat with Obiefuna's body until dawn. Didn't call the police. Didn't call anyone. Just sat with their brother, the one they'd barely known, who'd given everything so they could live. When morning came, they buried him in secret. No ceremony. No witnesses. Just 2 brothers laying their third to rest in a quiet corner of their mother's family land in Enugu. They marked the grave with a simple stone. The inscription read, Obiefuna Okonkwo. Brother, uncle, free. The prophecy never came for Chike or Emeka again. Whatever power had been building, whatever fate had been pulling them together, died with Obiefuna. The priestess disappeared. Some said she died of shock when the ritual failed. Others said she fled to Cameroon, broken by the loss of her life's work. Chike and Emeka stayed close. Real brothers now, not just genetic accidents. They raised their children together, Chike's son Chukwuemeka and Emeka's eventual daughter Adora. Told them the truth about their uncle Obi, about sacrifice, about the price of freedom. Their mother lived another 15 years, never fully forgave herself for the choices she'd made, but found some peace in watching her surviving sons build the family she'd once destroyed. On her deathbed, she said she'd seen Obiefuna in her dreams. That he'd told her he was finally at peace, finally free. Chike never knew if that was real or just a dying woman's wish. But he chose to believe it, chose to believe that somewhere, somehow, his brother had found the peace he'd been denied in life. And every year, on June 15th, their birthday, Chike and Emeka would visit that quiet grave in Enugu, would pour libation, would tell their brother about their lives, their children, the world he'd saved by leaving it, would thank him for the greatest gift a brother could give, the gift of choosing them over himself, the gift of breaking a curse with his own blood, the gift of making sure that whatever darkness had claimed him would never touch his family again. That's the story. 3 brothers, 1 impossible choice, and a sacrifice that saved a family from a fate worse than death. If this story moved you, if it made you think about family, about sacrifice, about the prices we pay for freedom, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel right now. We tell the stories that matter, the dark truths hidden in family histories, the folk tales that still shape our lives today. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me, could you have made Obiefuna's choice? Could you sacrifice yourself to save siblings you barely knew? Or would you have fought the prophecy another way and share this story? Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear it. Someone needs to know that even in the darkest circumstances, even when fate seems inevitable, human choice still matters. Love still matters. Sacrifice still means something. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember, we're all connected in ways we don't understand. And sometimes the greatest love is choosing to let go. Stay safe. Honor your family. And never forget that the choices we make echo far beyond our own lives.